Okay, the time is 6:30. I'll call the Newcastle Planning Board meeting of July 17th, that's today. July 17th, 2025 to order. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
I do have two. One, I don't believe that we voted, or that you all voted to adopt the schedule last meeting.
No,
or
we
the
didn't.
meeting before. We talked about it at least 2 meetings ago.
Correct.
So, adopt that, and then also chair and vice chair electing. Well, we can do that at the next meeting too.
Oh, chair and vice chair.
The way that I scheduled it was like, this is the last meeting. This was the last meeting of the 2024, 2025.
This one is?
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
whatever. That works.
I wasn't sure when the select board was gonna have their first meeting in a winter. Sometime to do it. We can do it today.
Stick this here.
The select board appointed people at the last meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we can do it now. Let's add that
figured.
right here under new business.
Okay.
We'll do new business, B, I guess. Election of officers and, the schedule for the year.
On the back of the agenda that I should.
Yeah.
That's how I remembered.
Yeah, we talked about it. We'll put it under old business, item A. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, anybody got anything else?
Just a quick note, I will not be able to be at the meeting next month.
Okay, great. Perfect.
No.
That's awesome. Luckily, we have enough numbers now, right? It's summertime, everybody can take a break and. All right, item number 2A, a review of minutes. Do I have a motion on the June 12th, 2025 meeting minutes? Moved by Kevin, seconded by Wanda. Any comments, adjustments?
It was as painful to read as it was to do.
It made me tired twice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
man.
remember now.
Yeah.
We almost ran out of alphabet letters.
Right, right? Was that fun?
No.
Did you
No.
like the way we did it though?
Yeah,
Yeah,
It is legal.
yeah,
Yes.
it's appropriate. No doubt, yeah.
That's I apologize that I kind of abandoned you on one of the longer, more
Yeah.
painful.
That's all right. We got down and Scott and I split up the talking and it was, we just.
Yeah.
It was good.
Fortunately, it's simple.
Yeah, it was simple. It was. Yeah. Just look out
There
for
was,
it.
well,
All right, so no comments, seeing none, all in favor of the minutes from June 12th. So who was not here?
I was
Not here, you were not here.
so
5, 2 abstain.
Same.
Okay. Old business 3A is to finish the conversation and vote to adopt on the second page of the agenda, the schedule for the rest of the year that Michael set out for us. Does anybody see anything on that needs changing or anything to add to it? Or, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, just follow the third Thursday there.
And I checked, there's no, like, Thanksgiving doesn't conflict, no other holidays conflict, so,
Juneteenth.
yeah, it's not.
It's amazing,
Yeah,
honestly,
this is probably the once in the decade that.
it happens that way, yes, all right. Do I have a motion to adopt the schedule as presented?
So move.
So moved by, yep, thank you. Moved by Scott, seconded by Tyler. Any other discussion? All in favor of the schedule as presented? That passes unanimously. All right, new business. Item A, map 016 lot 1, 15 McNeil Point. And I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna murder this name by trying. Maybe you could tell me how to pronounce it and I'll get it right.
Yeah, the owner's name is Mike Fraliciardi.
Say it again.
Fraliciardi.
Fraliciardi.
Yeah.
Fraliciardi. All right, great, thank you. That's wonderful. And you are?
I am Dan Phelps, Phelps Architects.
Great.
Sitting in for Frank tonight.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good to have you here. So why don't you, as we do, this is just real quick. It's a pre-submission meeting. There's no application involved, and anything that you may hear should not be construed as a ruling or any kind of judgment or anything of that nature. It's really just trying to put all the cards on the table and figure out what needs to be addressed before an application comes forward. So maybe you can give us a little overview of the, I guess it's a situation or a question, really.
Yeah, certainly. Go.
You're welcome
Okay.
to, or.
Or Michael
Yeah.
can, or whoever.
Please jump in, Michael.
Yeah, we have talked about this and I think. My assumption was it's mostly be about shoreland and shoreline zoning and. Mainly the stream, is it a stream? How do we deal with it, kind of thing,
Yep.
which. I'll let you.
Sure, so I have larger plans if anyone needs them, I don't know if you're all looking at it on your screens, is
Yeah,
that how it's?
we've all got it.
Okay,
Digital,
sure.
yeah.
So I'm looking right now at that G&D survey plan V1.
Yep.
Right? And so the cottage in question is an existing cottage that's right up on the Damascata Lake there, the closest one. So we have competing setbacks, right? So we have the setbacks off of the lake, which is the 25 and the 75. And we also have that stream on the southern edge of the property, right? And so there's a 75-foot setback off of that stream in consultation with Dusty and Gartley Dorsky, and that's some of the back and forth that Michael and I have been talking about. So essentially, that little cottage that is right on the lake there is, for all intents and purposes, pinned in some manner or form by setbacks. At least that's how we're thinking about it now. So
No, we're gonna make them pick it up and move it. No, of course, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Where's
the stream though? Stream.
It's that one to the left.
Okay, that's a stream. All right,
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
There it is.
All right, yeah, so it is currently within the 25-foot setback, so it's currently non-conforming
oh yes,
Yeah.
correct.
As it sets.
as it sits.
As it sits now, yes. One of the things that we've been evaluating, right, is some of the read in the non-conforming section of the code, right, where it talks about 1,000 square foot maximum of all structures kind of within those setbacks, right? And so when I look at some of the square footage between the structures that are on that property, you know, they exceed that 1,000 square feet. But they're there and I've been thinking about them, at least for the moment, as grandfathered square footage, right? Just as a review point that I've been looking at it in that manner. So what I was thinking about doing with the owner is renovating the cottage that's closest to the lake, right? And keeping the same square footage, maybe doing a swap of square footage. A little bit like there's an existing deck on the northerly side. And maybe we take that off and put it in the rear of the cottage to put some bathrooms or things like that. And that's kind of reflected on the floor plans in your packet. But one of the companion questions around that is kind of at least in my mind, is the 50% market value threshold, right? Because the owner has some options, at least the way I'm thinking about it. They can renovate the cottage kind of as is, kind of repair and maintenance, but do some renovations, right? The plans that are kind of included here kind of look at taking a larger swing at the renovation of it, right? Make it something a little bit different. Increase the height a little bit beyond the 25-foot setback, not to get into the weeds of it about that, but maybe the value of the project, at least from a market value point of view, could start to push that boundary of a 50% threshold, depending what they may or may want to do to it to bring it back up, right? So in my mind, that just kind of starts to present, maybe there's an option in there about rebuild, right? If that was allowed, but I know that, as I understand it, that is an evaluation of the rebuild exceeding the 50%, and then we start talking about pushing maybe it back to most project extent type conversations. We start to exceed. So those are the kind of the three value points that I've been kind of looking at and discussing in terms of how to maybe advise the owner about which way maybe their options are, right? So it really comes kind of, in my mind, it comes back to the setbacks that are there, and then this value question, right? In terms of what the board might think about options, the renovation options or the rebuild options, kind of all kind of being driven maybe by the setbacks and the possible pinning in. So
Okay,
that's some of the feedback that I'm hoping to discuss with you all tonight.
great. Michael, do you have anything to add or
Yeah.
throw into the pot here?
Sure. So I guess I know that you touched on the 25-foot setback from Damascus Lake, and I mean, shoreline goes 250 feet back, but freshwater, I believe here, the 100-foot setback is like if you were to build new, can't build within 100 feet. Obviously, this stuff's already there. Well, at least this one building is. The other buildings are behind the 100-foot setback. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's existing, legally existing, non-conforming, that building. The one thing that we chatted about is that I don't really know how best to handle, because the shoreline zoning is a little bit weird. I mentioned the stream before. This stream is not doesn't meet the definition of a stream in shoreline zoning, so it doesn't see it. Because there's only certain streams that have to be identified on the USGS topological map and whatever. So this is very much a stream. Like, if you go out there, there's a stream there. Like anybody would say that, except when I put my planner glasses on and I'm looking at it through the way that this ordinance defines streams. Yeah, so if you want to build within 75 feet of that stream, I don't think the town could justify saying no. And then we could say you can't build within 75 feet of that stream because it's not a stream. For our local ordinance purposes. DEP, they have different ways that they determine whether it's a stream. And I won't have to get into what all of the criteria are. It's much more like probably reasonable and like I'd say scientific. This definitely is a stream according to DEP. So they have different standards. I don't think they would let you build within 25 feet of the stream, I think is what their standard might be. I'm not sure. They have their standards a little more flexible. So it's kind of a weird one where it's like, well, we can't consider it to say, no, you're not allowed to build within 75 feet, but if we get into the. Moving the building to the greatest practical extent kind of question. Is it reasonable to include that in the board's consideration?
The stream.
The street and the distance, and say like, well, you know, are we gonna say, yes, you have, I guess this is. Would the. If the location was, if the choice was, yes, you need to move it back to be as far away from the lake as possible. Do you ignore the fact that there's a stream there, or do you try to also not encroach on the stream? That's not really a stream. That's where it's weird. It's like you kind of.
Don't we have to rely on the Department of Environmental Protection for that?
On for what exactly?
For the distance of the street, 25 feet.
There's different, and I don't know if it's 25 feet, I'm making an assumption. There's just layers of this,
Okay.
so. If the board decided to say, no, you're allowed to build 10 feet from the stream, DEP would come in and be like, no, you can't. They wouldn't say the town, you're wrong for allowing that. Because our ordinance doesn't say. That we can say no to that, but they would come in and say, we DEP are telling you stay more than 10 feet away from the stream. So that's why it's this kind of weird thing where. For us, like, what can we say no to, and then, well, what should we consider when we're considering placement of a building?
So,
So, can I just ask, like, because you can't tell this like this, so how many feet is it to the lake and how many feet is the closest point to the street?
Well, you see the setback line? That's the 25-foot setback line. And so this here is
75, gotcha, thank you.
Yep, yep, yep. It cuts through the house
Okay, gotcha.
currently. So, yeah, Michael.
sorry, just have a very fundamental question. I think this data, but I just wanted to establish one. This property fall within the.
From the stream, that's 7.
Oh,
This is the 25
From
of the lake.
I don't know off the top of my head, but it sounds right.
I looked at this.
Yeah, that's right.
Good, definitely, I do.
That's what Ben says, this is the 75 of the stream, and that's the 20.
So, you know, stream protection district, which is different.
Different standards.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, this falls within the yellow. So
Right.
I just want to know
Yep.
which section, the
Yeah.
rules.
Yep.
Like, it's a different rules. from different areas.
And that's, so,
Yeah.
to answer that question, it is in limited residential.
Okay,
Which is 250 feet. If you look at a shoreline zoning map, this is where this came up, is if you look at the shoreline zoning map. There's no stream. There might be a little blue line, it's like, yeah, there's a
Yeah.
water course.
I looked.
But it is
yeah,
not,
I was looking at all the colors and it's not.
yeah, so that's where I'm like. There's a stream, but it's
so
not a,
This
There's this-
controls what you have.
yeah.
what rules you-
there's a simple way to handle this, though, I think. Which is the, I think you nailed it, Michael, in terms of the setbacks and what's the stream and what's the well. We obviously have to follow everything, all the ordinances that we're bound by. So if this came to the planning board, and we looked at it and said, okay, even though the house, you know, we're not gonna consider the stream, because from our perspective, there's no stream. We have to consider the lake.
Right.
Normal nonconformity rules apply, which means you can, you know, you can expand the building to the limit you can expand it. As long as you don't increase the nonconformity, so you can't expand towards the lake, but you can expand away from the lake. Or to the sides. We could look at it from that perspective, right? And put a condition on the approval that it had to obviously meet with the approval, and then we sort of just pass it on to them.
Mhm.
The client would then have to go and say, okay, DEP, do you have any problem with this approval? And they would have a chance to review it. It's sort of off of our plate. We've blessed it, you know, according to our rules and regulations and there you go.
You know, I was gonna clarify, I haven't heard of this rule before, if they, for example, if they stay within the existing foundation.
So not necessarily.
what is it, 30% or?
No, we got rid of the third
changed,
change,
yeah.
What is it?
So now they set, you can follow up faster than I can, Michael. There are set footprint numbers.
Yeah, well, Michael can.
Take it
I'm,
away.
Michael
Take
can
it
add,
back.
but my read of it is that it's 1,000 square feet of all structures within setback.
Within 100 foot setback.
Correct, yes, 100 foot, yeah.
and that's the other thing is some of the other buildings are within the 75 feet of the stream, but
Yeah, my reading,
Not
that's a
true.
total, not a,
Right.
like you can take what you've got and add 1,000,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is those further back buildings, they don't count into your 1,000.
Yeah,
That's
correct.
not hard, not.
Agree, assuming the stream
Yeah,
is
yeah,
not
stream
under
is
the
not-
purview of the board.
Right,
What's the footprint
Yeah.
of the existing
Yeah,
building
right.
closest to Damascus Lake that you wanna? Do you know what the square footage is?
I'm sorry, could you ask that one more time?
I'm just wondering what the square footage of the existing building closest to Damascus Lake that we're talking about renovating.
So it's 1,110 square feet plus or minus.
Okay, so you're at the limit just with that one building.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
And then there's another existing dwelling.
Yep, that's further up behind the 100. What, if I take the stream setback. There's some square footage within that stream setback, but. If we don't take that. For the purposes of review with this board, then like Michael was just saying, that square footage wouldn't necessarily count, right? It's just the cottage square foot. But to your point, we're exceeding that 1,000
Just on that.
in the book already.
But no. No. And well, I mean, the existing dwelling, that's the rectangle, the bigger one, right? That's outside the 100 foot from the lake, but it's partially within the 75 feet from the stream. So again, that's sort of a okay by us potentially, but maybe not by DEP.
Right, I agree.
Question.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for the carport and the garage, right?
Yes,
How big, do you mind if I ask how big the actual lot is, the whole thing?
let's see. They have it, the survey has it at 2.03 acres.
88,484 square feet is what they.
Yeah.
Believe it.
say that again, 2 point what?
2.03.
2.03. Oh, there it is, I see it. Yeah, it's a lot of.
And I also just want to clarify, I was incorrect, the setback 75 is for this. The way that it's worded, 75 feet horizontal distance from the high water line. Whatever, 100 feet is great ponds or rivers flowing into great ponds, this is not a great
Oh,
pond.
so it's 75 feet.
75.
worded.
A street.
That sounds right.
From the lake, yeah.
If you wanted to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to be. So for the purposes of this meeting, we don't even really have to discuss the stream because that's the DEP's purview. Okay, so we're just talking about the lake. We're talking about the restrictions based on the distance to the lake.
I think so.
And so the one thing I don't understand is the 1,000 feet. I guess I read that as the 1,000 feet or additional to whatever square footage you have. Are they saying you can't do anything to any building that's more than 1,000 square feet?
Let me see, I'll just read this section that's applicable. It says for structures located less than 75 feet horizontal distance from the normal high water line of a water body, tributary stream of this lake. The maximum combined total footprint for all portions of those structures within that 75-foot distance is 1,000 square feet. And the maximum height is 20 feet.
Okay, so I know there are houses on the lake that have more than 1,000 square feet that are out of the water.
Well, that's footprint, not aggregate.
Or the height of the existing structure, whichever is greater. So if you build a tall skinny house. A long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, they got
extends-
these houses on those tiny little islands,
Mhm.
where they're 5 feet from the water.
It must have been built before the shoreline zoning became a thing.
I mean, I guess my read of this is that because it's wholly inside that 75-foot setback from the lake. And it already exceeds 1,000 square feet.
Is that what it exceeds, that building is
The
all?
footprint is the footprint. You can tear it down to the foundation and build it back. Exactly the same on the same foundation. You can't make it any bigger. Am I right?
I think 50% value.
Oh, 50% value, sorry, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
not considering beta.
What does that? If you're building burns down or.
Value means
if you
something
take-
different to my ears.
Yeah, I think it's assessed value, I think is how they determine it, it's. But you're gonna do assessed value, or market value, so presumably it would be.
So what is the 50% mean?
So if you, let's say like a quarter of your house burns down. And that wipes a quarter of the value, you can rebuild and that's fine. If 2/3 of your house burned down. And that wipes out 2/3 of the value of your house. The town could say, okay, well, now you have to rebuild, but you have to move it back to the greatest extent. You have to meet the setback to the greatest extent possible.
But what does that do with 50%?
If it exceeds 50% of the value.
If the reconstruction.
Reconstruction. Yes.
So if you knock your house down just completely, then presumably more than 50% of the value of the structure is gone. The planning board would have to have you move it back to the greatest, not all the way, but you have to meet the setback to the greatest practical extent.
Yeah, and that gets tricky because it's a judgment call.
Right.
Which we're not gonna rule on. Being clear.
Yeah, right. So the input about the stream is very helpful, and then kind of the next benchmark in my mind. Is the 50% market value question, right? Because depending what owners want to do to their place, you know, those values can get high rather quickly,
Yeah,
right?
they can.
So it just becomes an exercise of trying to understand that value when we submit it for permit and what the scope's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. So they may, I'm just talking out loud, they may or may not be able to take as big a swing at the renovation of the cottage as maybe they might want to, based on kind of that rule, right? So. And that's kind of where the stream question was causing thoughts about that. If that was a benefit to them in some manner in terms of this board's review.
Yeah.
On that question, that 50% question.
Does that 50%, I haven't read it in a while, does it set time limits on, or does it have a sunset?
I think it's like 18 months.
Really, that's that short?
Well, I think it might be that you have to go through and get your approvals within 18 months.
No, and what I'm talking about is like, you know. Obviously, a lot of these places have been remodeled several times over the years, right? And they all appreciate it. So the question is, obviously, I think they intended the 50% to be cumulative. Forever, but how do you track that?
Well, how can,
You
you can't track the value of at Van Tech plywood for more than a year.
So
Every week.
I think it's not,
I love that.
it's not so much the cost to rebuild, and this is, I'm just gonna think out loud here for
Yeah.
a second. It really is like when the assessor goes out there today and let's say they say, oh, you've got $100,000. The structure, the value, the assessed value of the structure is $100,000.
Yeah.
And if you were to chop the house in half, and it doesn't matter what, even if it costs you $500,000 to rebuild that other half of the house, the assessed value should still basically just come back at $100,000. So I think that's what we're not really worried about the construction cost of this. Really is what's the assess?
I see, so the former assessed and then the new assessed
Yeah,
value. That makes more sense, because I was trying to reconcile assessed value with the construction material.
Well, but even that's a moving target because assessed value changes.
Yeah.
And can change rapidly, like it
I
has
think
in
we
the past
need to sometimes.
3-4 years,
Right.
5 years,
Right.
as we all know, right? So you know,
Yeah,
you
which-
do a reno this year and you do another reno in 10 years. Right,
Mhm.
on the same property.
Well, the starting value of the house is also gonna be totally different.
Yeah, but I'm saying like in 10 years, like we've seen,
Mhm.
you could be, your assessed value could be well over 50%.
Right, your
Easily.
your $100,000 house today can be worth $500,000 in 10 years.
Yeah.
Which means. You only have $50,000 to work with today, and in 10 years, you're gonna have $250,000 to work with.
Right,
But that assessed value can change in 18 months, the time you have to.
but I guess that's what I was saying is that no one will actually track that. I'm not telling you what to do or how to advise your client,
Oh, I know, yeah. right.
but what I'm saying is no one tracks it.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
And I won't say anything. I'm not trying to skirt the law, I'm just, the law is vague and sometimes it leaves it vague on purpose.
Yep.
This is one of those things.
Yeah, I think if you were to triple the size of the house. It might be like, okay, that is kind of an obvious, you've got 3 times as much house now. If you put in high-end fixtures. It's gonna be harder to determine that. What you're comparing. I would think.
So,
Is
to be
there,
honest with you,
yeah,
your next step would be to have a very, I would advise your next step to be a very, frank conversation with the assessor's agent. About how they determine value.
yeah,
Because that will give you a better insight into what you have to work. Versus what they might want to accomplish.
Mhm.
So if he says to you, for example, well, look, we're really concerned about the generalities, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, square footage, things like that. We don't really worry if there's hardwood or tile or granite or formica or,
You build one hell of a den.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
he might say that.
Mhm.
Right? But he might not. He might say, oh. If you're building, you keep the footprint the same, but inside it's gold plated everything. We're gonna wanna know that, so.
Yeah.
That conversation might give you a little bit more insight into how that value is determined and how much,
Mhm.
how close you can strike to that. 50%.
Mhm.
So we probably could, we can't do that.
Yeah.
How often does an assessor, when they change the rate? They've never come into my house and looked at what kind of appliances I have. I mean, they've never looked at that.
Yeah, so the assessor doesn't have any legal right to step on anyone's property. So they determine that from transfers. So when a real estate transaction happens, a lot of the information in the sale gets filed through, it lands on the assessor's desk at some point. And he'll go, okay, and he'll make an evaluation based on other comparable properties and where it is in what district, and all these factors, hopefully don't.
So they base it on what, the realtor's disclosure? Like,
Well,
I mean.
I'm not gonna speak for the assessor's
I'm just
agent,
wondering,
because-
what information, I don't know, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
In realtor's disclosures say things.
Yeah.
And then there's the reality on the ground.
right,
And when you buy a house, it's not like when when I transfer my house to somebody else. Somebody goes through and does a thorough documentation of what just transferred, it's not that.
Don't have public yard sales before you start that.
yeah, right, so
Pictures on.
there are pictures. Exactly.
See, that's market value.
The roof was listed as slate.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, it was slate colored asphalt. Slate roof, right?
So there's
so,
a
like-
difference, and this is hard to understand that for a lot of people, and I'm not disparaging, but there are two conversations happening here. One is market value.
Right.
Market value is gonna do whatever market value
No,
does,
absolutely.
right?
I just, you said.
Assessed value is
Assessed
totally
it
different.
Based on information that was at. the
Absolutely,
Which is
What is
market
that
value,
information?
and a
So-
comp is market value.
absolutely. The assessor's job is to try and ensure that assessed value is within a certain range of market value. You don't want to be over market value, you don't want to be dramatically under market value. Somewhere between, I think most assessors shoot for between 80 and 90%, they just between 80 and 90% of market value, they're happy. And that's what your taxes are gonna be, so. If you're, you know, drastically one way or the other, then we got a problem. You got a problem as the individual taxpayer, the town has a problem because the assessing's not correct. And everything's not equitable across the board. So. Yeah. That's kind of a tangent from what we're talking about. It's good information,
Good teaching moment.
but I think. That. Yeah, have we answered all your
You
questions?
have, thank you. I appreciate the board's time because you've given some feedback about the stream, which is great, and some feedback about the language about square footage and the market value language, which is really maybe more an assessment value as we're discussing. And I think one of the next steps is that I can talk to the assessor and kind of talk to them about what it is now and what it might want to be. You know, so that way when we do go to application, we have that information as part of that discussion.
And
Yeah,
again, I think the key is, Michael summed it up
if I
really
read
well.
everything correctly. so-
You could spend $1 million renovating this place. And it wouldn't substantially change the assessment,
Potentially, right,
potentially,
right.
right?
Yeah.
You could spend half that or a quarter of that, and it still probably would not substantially change the assessed value.
Mhm.
But getting a sense from him where that actually is. When was the last time, we're kind of, with our assessment agent, we take a little bit of a different approach than other towns who. Tend to wait for a long time and then do a big reval. Our assessor's agent does it kind of on a rolling basis. So we did a full reval last year, we're gonna do another one next year. Well, it's small bites, it's not big bites, that's the idea, small bites, not big bites. Yeah, so
Is some of that assessment? Or some of those values, something that the board. Would want to see at the application or,
no. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but like.
Yeah.
We have no control, no say, no authority. To relegate any of them. It's not our department.
We just have to make sure it's not more than warming.
Yeah.
Those,
Yeah.
those kind of things.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I think this has been very helpful, yeah,
Awesome, well, thank you for coming.
all right.
Again, I love the idea of these precinct level meetings. They really help, in my opinion. Because
Oh, yeah, Michelle and I think they should be standard,
standard,
because, yeah, it just familiarizes everybody and.
by the time the project comes, we go, oh, we've seen this, and then you've already done all the things,
Yeah.
you know, it works great.
Yeah. And this little site has a lot going on with it, so.
Yeah.
it's- All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, have a great night. All right, so we had a new business, B, which was. Election of offices. So, so we need to elect a chair and we need to elect a vice chair, and usually we do it like this. Joking. So is there anybody that is interested in being the chair of the planning board for the upcoming year? It's a 1 year, we gotta do it every year. Don't everybody jump all at once.
You can. Email.
Yeah, so we, in our bylaws, I will say, the select board has, that's a great question. The select board has a new addition to their bylaws as of last year that we might want to consider or not. No member of the board can be a chair for more than 2 consecutive years. Well, the idea being that, you know, it's a shared responsibility. It's not very onerous. You basically run the meeting. And And it's, it's good to not have the same person do it forever. And I've been chair of the board now for uh-oh. 2020, right? Not forever. 2020. When we switched codes. Actually, I think I was the chair of the board before that. A little bit. Before.
There was a break in there. It wasn't more.
What's
So-
that?
The practical question is this.
Mhm.
Right. Somebody can be the chair of the board, but if you decided you didn't want to be on the board anymore and
Mhm.
you've got the history and you know how it works,
Yeah.
that would make that job a lot tougher.
Yeah.
So you're gonna stay on?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I plan to stay on the board regardless of
Okay.
who's the chair. Yeah. And I mean, I enjoy this, so. I know it's a sickness, but I do enjoy it. Is there anybody that wants to give it a whirl? I mean, I'm happy to do it, but I'm also happy and encouraging of anyone who's interested to try it.
My work right now is crazy.
That's totally illegitimate. Absolutely. That's great.
I'm lucky to show up right now.
Okay. Well, we're glad you're here. Thank you.
What are the offices again? Chair, vice chair?
It's just chair and vice chair. Yeah.
Who's the vice chair now?
Look at this. And it's not, that's the other thing we don't have in the bylaws. Some bylaws do contain things where, the vice chair has preferential
Duties.
treatment when it's considered in a sort of, they're being coached to be the chair for the upcoming year or whatever the case may be. We don't do anything like that. So, Lucas, you could, if you're interested, you could be the chair, but you don't have to be the chair. No? Yes? Thoughts?
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year? All right, that's good. That's good enough. That's fine.
And I have to say, Newcastle does not seem like I say this and next week, hopefully it's.
Don't say it.
But
Don't say it.
It's not a particularly hostile community. There has not been very many
Lately.
applicants that have come in, at least since I've been here.
Yeah, right. No.
I mean, there's been some.
Well, I mean,
Or
there's,
after the fact.
yeah,
Sure, and people, I guess I've
They
seen
don't
some
see.
hostility, we'll call it, at the select board, but
It could be far.
Not
worse.
the same
It could be
as-
far worse.
yeah,
yeah,
The budget committee regularly pounded me into paste.
yeah.
right.
Well,
So I think that the way that we have sort of restructured the planning board, and the way that we work with applicants, the fact that we have a town planner professional in the meeting every time, almost every time, and the fact that we've got great information at our fingertips, again, prepared by the town planner, it has changed dramatically the antagonistic relationship that existed between applicants and planning board
Correct.
before. And now we're here to help.
He's great for
And it's-
touch. He's great for, and then pre-submittal.
I know.
like,
Yeah.
It's like, it's really, everybody's pulling from the same rope.
Right, exactly.
And there's multiple junctions, right?
Yeah.
Where you can say, hey, real quick, we have to pivot and look at something different because this isn't gonna go.
Right, exactly.
Like, it's, we got a great process.
Yeah.
Well, I think it moves along a lot quicker than keep coming back every month and getting kicked back, and you gotta bring it back next month, and it gets kicked back.
And then that builds
You
animosity.
help
Yeah.
get all that in place before.
Yeah.
It really comes to us for
Yeah.
the most part, which I think is helpful for everybody.
And I think that all of that has led to the dynamic now being, I certainly feel like our job is to do everything we can to make the project work.
Yeah, to help them. Yeah.
We're gonna investigate every possible avenue we can within the legal bounds of the codes to find a way to make the project work for the applicant. And when we hit something that's, a hard brick wall that we can't get around, well, that's the answer, but we've done everything that we possibly could. And that's a very different mentality than what we had before, which was just, unfortunately, when the processes aren't there, the attitude is, well, how can we shoot this down instead of how can we help them along?
Yeah.
And so we got a good thing going. I just want to like toot our own horns because we're doing great.
The Sidewinder case was a great example.
I thought that went like it was a good conversation.
Flat out wanted to propose something that wasn't allowed, but you gave them alternatives, right? And possible ways around it. It's great.
So. Does anyone have? We have to do this officially, so we have to make a nomination, then we have to vote, and then we have to make a nomination for vice chair, and then we have to vote. Does anyone have a nomination they want to make?
Well, I think for this coming year, I would nominate you to be, but I'm sort of, I would be willing to be vice chair if I get a little more experience.
Okay,
But I'm not willing to do anything until I get experience, because.
Likewise.
great. All right. All right, so we have a nomination. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, so any more discussion about it?
That was Scott nominated Ben,
Yeah.
and then who seconded? Tyler, okay,
I think Kevin started it, but then Scott, whatever.
you're in my field of vision, so.
All right. All right, great. Any further discussion about chair for this year?
You're doing a great job.
Keep up the good work.
All in favor?
Lucas, you're on deck.
All in favor? I'm not gonna vote. All right, 6 with 1 abstention. All right, vice chair. Are you feeling like you want to do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, great. All right, then I will make a nomination for, unless anyone else wants to throw the name in that ring. Wait a year, but I mean, you guys you've been with us for a while now. Yeah. I mean, your term is up when?
My current term?
We don't really know.
Maybe
We just keep
It might be
coming
next
to
year.
them.
Yeah, exactly, right. So they lock the doors with us. Yeah, Michael, you put together a
We
thing.
checked it. You don't expire.
Yeah.
It was.
You don't ever expire.
Wait a minute, hold on.
You corrected my dates, right?
Yes, we just checked and confirmed. I have. Ben and Lucas just expired and both were just renewed. And I've got Kevin and Wanda will expire a year from now. And then Scott, Tyler, and Mike Titus will expire the year after that.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. All right, so I'll make a nomination for Lucas as vice chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Scott. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Thank you. both.
6 with 1 abstention. Thank you. All right. So moving on to other items. You got administration in here. Is there anything under administration?
No.
Okay.
That could have been, but it's done.
Great. And no one here, but we are all also members of the public. Does anyone have any comments for items not on the agenda or otherwise? No comments? Yes? Nope. All right, planners report.
I'll just give you, there's a couple updates that I want to give you. One, the select board on Monday, I think, adopted an updated planning fee schedule. It's not really anything directly relevant or gonna impact you all. It's just kind of one more thing that we've been working on administratively internal to the office, and just to try and make the whole process that much smoother, easier. Now it's very clear. When you submit an application, it's gonna be probably $30. Unless it's a subdivision, that's $300. Or there's some things, plumbing permit. Something called like activity permits, which is a tourist rental registration, temporary structures you put under there. Shoreland vegetation removal permits, which are not like land use permit, those are $0, but. Come in, you submit your application to probably be $30 if you're looking for a use permit or a building permit. And then you go through the whole process, and then when Kara, the CEO, at the end, assuming everything gets approved, when she issues the permit, use permit and or building permit, there may be additional things that come to the planning board. We do charge like $60. But I'm hoping this is gonna be much cleaner, much clearer, so that the process just is that much less painful, which I think we're talking about how we've been doing that. So that's updated. Just so you know, and we'll come back to that when I get to some of an update on the proposed core zoning code amendments, because I also am using that to make sure that the permits and the ordinance and the whole process line up and make sense, so.
Can I make a comment on this?
Yes.
Because Ben's here too, for Big Back Selectmen.
Yeah.
Quite a few years ago now, like 4 years ago, when we had to tear down the old store.
Yeah.
I went in to see if there was a permit and they said there wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think you and I had the conversation that there probably shouldn't be a fee for it. But we talked about having a permit for it, just be so that it would keep the town in the loop of
Yeah.
things that were missing.
Yeah.
And I see a historic.
Right.
But I don't see a regular.
I think it's still on the list of ordinance changes that we need to make, because,
I don't know that, but it's just,
yeah,
it just makes sense that.
No, it's a great
it just
question.
Alerts the town that like that old
yes.
store was gonna be gone.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's important because it changes the value,
Right,
right?
Right.
So if you're gonna tear something down, yeah, maybe you don't need a permit for it, but you need to let the town know.
right.
Or you're gonna keep paying taxes on what the town thinks you have.
So maybe you get a permit, but there's no cost for the permit. I mean, you're not.
Right,
right.
But at least you go in and let the town know that
Yeah,
it's
right.
happening.
Uh,
And that was like 4 years ago, and I just noticed that it still wasn't theirs.
Yeah, I think it's still on the list of ordinances.
you know, it's that, yeah, Kara, the code enforcement officer mentioned it too, someone come in and was asking like, do I need to get a permit for demo? And no, right now, the only thing you need a permit to demo is historic structures, so. I think that makes sense, we really haven't had more conversation than that, but they're,
Well, I was
On
just
that.
thinking more about the taxes. I didn't want to be taxed on
yeah, right,
the
yeah.
building that's
right.
no longer there.
Right.
Yeah, and that's very good. And that's one of the things that why we want at least some of these applications to be very painless. So it's like, yeah, you're allowed to do it. We just want to know.
And it's in your benefit to let
Right.
some cases.
And there are some other I guess permit items that we'll just talk about adding, but I'll I think, let me just go right into so there's several we've been talking about several changes to the core zoning code, and some of these line up, like adding a permit for just regular demo, something for subdivision to make it so that there's like a minor subdivision, minor subdivision if all you're doing is just drawing lines on paper and saying, yeah, I'm gonna have 3 lots there. They all are conforming. They got the road frontage. You're not building any roads or anything. That maybe should be a lighter lift than what we normally see as subdivisions. And then there's in the ordinance now, there's something called master plan, which I think we just need to figure out how that's gonna relate, which I think is more like a planned unit development, or what people traditionally think of as subdivisions, which is, you know, you're building a road and maybe you have other uses in there besides residential, and you're also proposing buildings in there. It's not just a road with 10 lots and utilities in there. So just make it so that it's a little bit more clear what stuff is applicable depending on, are you doing a little thing? Are you doing a really big thing? Or are you doing kind of middle of the road, which is what we've got right now? Also, multi-unit buildings currently are considered subdivisions. If you build a 4-unit building, you go through subdivision review because that's how the state defined it. They do allow towns to not put it through subdivision if it goes through site plan review. Which we attempted to put in, but it didn't pass. I think there was confusion about it. I don't think the town's necessarily against that. So that's another one, and then maybe just something that if all you're doing is like utility work, that could kind of be subdivision, but so there's other things, and if there is any other issue, like, oh, maybe this is a thing that we should be permitting, let me know, and we can consider it, but those are the ones that came up. So the other stuff we've talked about, and I'm still working on definitions cleanup, there's more to come on that. Mainly, we dealt with lots and kind of a lot measurements and details, primary roads, building details. I'm gonna keep working on that. The reviewing, one of the things I want to work on, if we talked about it a little bit, but I haven't actually taken a bite at it, is right now in the building table, it says build it by building, it tells you who the reviewer is. But then if you go to the back, there's small projects and there's large projects. And we talked about saying, small projects should just go to CEO. Large projects should go to planning board. But then that kind of conflicts when you go to the building table. So I want to work on clarifying who reviews what and what the split is. Right now, the split is anything up to 10,000 square feet is a small project. So we can talk about whether or not that split should be the same across every district, or if there's some districts where you know, even if you're building a 5,000 square foot building on Main Street, maybe the planning board should see that. And maybe you're building a 20,000 square foot building in the rural and planning board doesn't need to see that. You know, we can have those conversations. Make sure that that's the reviewer. Clarify, the ordinance doesn't really say, well, for uses versus residential companion uses versus expanded uses. I'm gonna clarify that and say, you know, here's who sees what. I know it's on the use table, but I'll just clarify that. Make sure make sure all the reviews follow a uniform structure. Mainly the layout follows a uniform structure, so they all have a purpose, they all have applicability, they all have a specified authority, they all have a procedure. So that way, if someone comes in and says, I want a residential companion use, I want to establish a residential companion use, they can go to that and see like, oh, what's the purpose of this? Oh, who reviews this? And what's the process? What are the standards for that? So it's something, most of it's there, just there might
I was
be.
gonna say, how big is that? That sounds like a big project.
A lot of it's there, or some of it really is just, it's just kind of filling in some holes.
Okay.
So there's that.
You could clarify it with some tables.
Yes, I mean, and a lot of the use stuff is clarified by, you go to each district page, you know, it's the closed dot, the 1, the 2, and the star, I think,
Yeah.
for special use, a special permit. It's just when you go to the administrative section, and this is stuff that like I look at, most residents, and I don't know if you're all looking at it, but like I look at it, CEO looks at it, and like, who has to review this? What's the process? I'm not sure it clearly says residential companion permit has to have the resident has to be there, so you know, I don't want, just make sure that stuff's all there.
So I don't want to get into it right now, but we should bring that as a work group item because I think it's a little bit bigger, and the reason why is because initially some building types had unit counts attached to them, maximum unit counts. That was the metric that set which in the building type tables set who the reviewer was. That was really what it was hinged on. And that goes to sort of size, but also maybe complexity of project, right? But now we don't have unit counts on building types. We got rid of those, right? And part of the conversation that we had before, and I don't know if we'd had it generally here, was that there are certainly some uses that are, you know, allowable by right in a district, but there are other uses that are tied more tightly to the building type that it's in, right? And that has an impact on who the reviewer is.
I think that is, we've talked about putting building types or filling that out a bit more in the ordinance. I think that the reviewing authority for the uses is a little bit more straightforward. The reviewing authority for building types, which right now it really is just small project, large project, is kind of how that.
Right.
So I think that probably makes sense. We just may need to flesh out a bit more of the different building types. So, but that I just want to let you know kind of what I'm working on. And some of this stuff really is with a lot of this is I want to get something together and then I'll bring it to you. And then I imagine we'll have some conversation about, well, where should these breaks be?
Yeah.
Do we need to add building types in again or?
Yeah.
Account for issuance of all building types, subdivision, activity, sign, just making sure that all of these things that are in here, like plumbing permits, the core zoning code. I want the core zoning book code, at least administratively, to be, and I think this was the intention. Where you go first, you open the core zoning code. That you, as long as you meet what's in there, and it may point you out to like, oh, also, if you're gonna build this, you need to meet state plumbing standards and have that reference rather than just like, well, I've been doing code enforcement for a while, so now I just know that you have to meet. I want to make sure that it's clearly points. You have to meet state plumbing code. Or whatever the other items are. And that ties directly to what's on the planning fee schedule, which I didn't mention, I kind of skipped over. Subdivision follows this, not really a subdivision permit. Your subdivision permit is your subdivision plan.
Yeah.
But a sign permit, obviously plumbing permits are a thing that board doesn't really get involved with. And then I mentioned activity permits, which are not really permits, it's. For example, shoreline zoning, like you need a permit to cut down trees and it's not a use, it's not a structure. So having that as like a use or a building structure is kind of like, that's not what that is.
Yeah.
This is a one time or like a. Or maybe it's a reoccurring thing, but it's not,
Yeah.
All right, and then,
Go ahead.
no, I already touched on that. The only other thing is. Do you want to have a conversation, not tonight, about fabrication district? And revisiting, and maybe that's a question for the select board, but.
Well, let's just review real quick. We've had two applications, two applications.
Yeah. And then Paul was.
Yeah, well, so technically three, but
Three.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Well, and then also, Lee, Xander Lee was also a.
four.
Apartments, yeah.
So there's been interest in that. And every application has had some. It hasn't been clean cut, right? It hasn't been clean cut. And so I think the question, we have questions. I think it's right to say, is the intent of the district correct? Should we be looking at building types and uses a little closer? If people are wanting to do things and we're telling them no, is that an indication that, market forces are such that we should consider a change or not?
Yeah.
I think the other thing that's interesting is that, at least with a couple of them, the use that they're looking to expand is already there.
You mean, housing?
Already, well, one was housing, one was,
One was to have a place to work on boats.
yeah,
Oh, yes,
but in both of those cases, that application is already there, that use is
That
already
use was already there, yeah,
prior to us changing the code,
true.
which is interesting.
It is
So,
interesting.
yeah, I mean, it's already there, and now we're saying you can't do it.
Yeah, and
So did we get that one?
did we get it right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things, at least for me, that kind of highlighted it with a couple of the applications was that fabrication district is really, because it's bifurcated by Academy Hill Road. The houses that front onto Academy Hill Road are really of a kind of different nature than the activities in the buildings behind
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
And so I'm personally inclined to say, yeah, we need to look at it, think about it a little bit differently, but perhaps propose some changes. But how does everyone else feel?
I agree, because I struggle with not allowing something that's already there.
Right.
Not saying right or wrong.
Yep.
If somebody wants to put a tire retreading plant in there, but these are things that are already happening.
It's housing there, He already has his boat stuff there, so. I struggle with, how do you say, you already got it there, but now you can't do it again? I mean, I think it's worth the conversation, whether we change it,
Agreed.
who knows, but I think it's worth
Yeah.
it.
Well, and that's, I
We're not
really,
trying to change the whole nature of what is there.
Right. No, I don't think so. It's just if we've had to hand out some no's, we should be confident that we got it right. I mean, we obviously can't go against the ordinance, but it's always worth asking the question. I ask myself every application, not only when we do the review, did we do the review well? Did we meet the ordinance, but does the ordinance itself make sense?
That's where I struggle. It's not that we can say yes or no to what's there now, because I think the decision we made was with what was in the code.
Yeah.
I struggle with, did we get it right back when we wrote?
Did
the
we get it
code?
right? Always,
That's what.
always. We should always.
Well, it's a
have that.
living document.
It is.
It is.
It
Exactly
should
right.
change.
It's fluid.
It should change.
The purpose of the code is to control for appropriate development, right?
Right, right.
There's a reason you can't build shacks on the lake anymore, right?
Yes. Yes, that's correct. So, yeah, I think it's worth putting on an agenda sometime soon.
Okay, yeah, and I'll talk to Kevin, and I imagine. Select board, it's like. As far as work plan stuff goes, but I wanted to. At least see how the planning board felt about it, because you see all these applications.
Yeah.
So.
So is, the other question I had was subdivision. Is that what you're thinking is the next sort of big bite?
Other than, yeah, I think so. And then it'll clarify as I do a bit more of the work for the admin stuff. But yeah, kind of splitting subdivision into 2 or 3 or.
I mean, that streamlines the process. It's virtuous. I mean, you don't want to be voting on 20 articles where nothing applies.
Right. I think the Coastal Rivers application was kind of a good example of that, where it's like, all they're doing is putting lines on paper. They weren't building anything. It's not like even once they sell it, someone might put a road to get to, no, like. That one should be like a minor subdivision that.
Yeah.
Is differently considered.
Well, then they had to clarify that the house was not occupiable.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a building there, right?
Right.
It's just, no,
Right.
right, yeah. So it was a little bit in a gray area. Did you agree?
But I think your other point, which was that, we tried to go down that road of separating division of land from, structures with, multiple units not having to follow the same path as division of land subdivisions. We didn't explain it very well the first time we tried to do it, but it would simplify everyone's life if we could get that
Yeah.
into code. So I think we gotta make another attempt at that.
And I want to cover this very quickly, so. I'm always the reason that these drag out, and some of this is directly relevant. There's this, this already passed into law, LD 1829. There's a bunch of weird little things in here. One of the things they did was, up subdivision for dwelling units. Subdivision of land is still 3 units in 5 years, or 3 lots in 5 years. They upped it to 5 units in 5 years for dwelling. So if someone builds a 4-unit building, it does not need to be subdivision anymore, where today it would be. Once we update the ordinance, it won't be.
Right.
Given our zone code.
According to all, yes. let me fix
This is more liberal than what we.
Yes, yeah, well, because the state had set it at 3 before, they changed it, they said, yes, we have to change it by July 1st, 2027, so. We already have to change it, so I'm like, we're breaking it open anyway,
Might as well do the rest.
yeah, so that, and then some of the other things that are in here, and I'll try and just hit the highlights, because there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't actually apply to Newcastle, because we're special and our ordinance is great.
I think you mean awesome.
Yeah.
What you're looking for is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So the affordable housing allowances, where it was, you're allowed 2.5 times density for affordable housing, officially designated affordable housing. They added another allowance, which is you get an extra story. So where we say, in areas where we say you're only allowed 1 story, you're only allowed 2 stories, affordable housing can now have an extra story, up to 14 feet.
But it does say that it can be contained within the roof.
Oh, yeah, well, ours.
No, ours, but also that one, doesn't it? It said that story can be a full additional story, or it could be contained within the roof structure.
Affordable housing development.
Did I read that wrong? Or maybe
I
was
didn't see,
something else.
I can look again.
It's the 14-foot,
Maybe see the-
story over 14 feet.
Okay, I'm probably
Maybe
reading
just,
something
yeah,
else.
it's-
Say this
it's-
again?
No, that's the 130.
If it's not in there, don't worry about it.
Okay,
Are, yeah, basically. If we were to set a 3-story maximum for a certain district, affordable housing could go to 4.
interesting.
They basically get a 1-story bonus by doing affordable. In addition to the 2.5 time density and less parking requirements, and there's, I think that's
You should preface all of this by saying that the rulemaking hasn't come out yet,
No, it hasn't.
and therefore we don't, yeah,
Do neighboring towns have this?
This is the whole state.
it's a whole
It's
state.
the whole state.
But it isn't officially yet.
It's not, well,
Well, this is adopted.
it's adopted by the state.
This is the law.
It's a law.
Yeah.
We all have to conform, but the way to conform is you have to take it to your town meetings and get it approved.
Yeah,
So until we get it approved at town meeting. Yeah, I'm
that's, yeah, and so
I'm thinking,
this is like, heads up, this is coming. We've got a year and a half to deal with it, but
but we may also receive some rulemaking
yeah.
that could sway it one way or the other, and because we're kind of, our ordinance is an outlier. We may be exempted from a lot of it like we were from other things.
Yeah, there's a bunch of density stuff in here that I'm not.
It doesn't have any applicability
Other
to
than
us.
it's in here.
Yeah.
I already mentioned subdivision. One thing that is directly applicable to all of you is mandatory training, municipal review authority and municipal zoning boards. And appeals boards have to do basically that MMA planning board or appeals board training. So if you're new, anytime you get appointed, the first time you have to do it within 180 days. And it also says if you're on a board currently, you gotta do it in 180 days. So I'll give you more details on that, but if
You set up.
Yeah.
if you have not done, I imagine, well, yeah, you're doing it. is it?
Yeah.
I'm doing it in Freeport this
In
month.
Freeport.
Okay. There may still be
They-
time to sign up
they
for
do
that if
anything?
you wanna do
I
it,
did it when I
but
was a selectman, so do I still have to do it?
I'm not sure.
I've never
I
done it.
think-
I'm waiting for the conference in Rhode Island.
I want a Fiji, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think the way that I read this, and we'll see if the rules come out.
Education here.
Yeah.
Years ago.
That was training for freedom of information.
That's
Act.
right,
Yeah.
that's right.
The one,
Yeah.
the joint session.
Yeah.
Wasn't just FOA though.
It wasn't?
Joe
No,
and
it
I
was
took it.
planning board. It was basically MMA's. It wasn't by MMA, it was our own. We talked about the whole process.
We did. Yeah.
So is that mandate continuing education or just one time?
I think it's just one time.
Okay.
I'm not sure. The way that I read it, it sounded like anybody, there is something that says like anybody who's on a board has to do it. And anybody who gets appointed to a board has to do it. I don't know if it's like, if you're on a board and you've already done it. Are you good?
I know Joe and I went to Augusta and did it, but I don't remember.
Yeah,
I haven't done it since.
but so I'll get more clarity, but there is something in here that basically there's that, and then that's it. Okay, that's it. There's other stuff, but
So you went through this entire document.
I'll happily.
Cross checked it against, so the entire.
no,
When I
yeah,
read through it,
yeah.
I said, wow, there's a lot of.
I pulled out the stuff that like I
You don't have to
know
everything.
is. Or that like I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this is definitely
Stuck
applicable, I
out
gotta
right
go
away.
check it. Yeah.
July 29th,
Okay,
That's it.
Wednesday,
That's it?
Thursday.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, anybody got anything else? No? Then without objection, the meeting is adjourned at 7:42.
I will say the third Thursday that comes